Welcome back to Hot Takes and Deep Dives. You know me, Jess, and I'm here with Erin Martin, who has her own podcast called Pink Shade. It's really successful. Hey, Erin.
Hey, how are you, Jess?
I'm great. I know that you've been homeschooling your daughter.
Yeah, I'm living the dream with homeschooling like all parents are right now with school-age children, and I'm ready for that dream to be over. I'm ready for summer to be here, even if it's in quarantine, because this is not easy. But I'm so happy to have like trash TV, Bravo, TLC, all of that stuff, because it's such a good distraction for me.
So what's interesting is you're a full-time podcaster and recapper. How did you get your start? Like, were you doing written recaps?
I wrote for Reality Tea, which is a big site that's still around.
Yeah.
I wrote for them for years, and I did it while I was teaching. I was a high school teacher for many years. Before that, I worked in software. I kind of went around to different careers, but I was always interested in reality TV ever since the Housewives debuted, years and years ago. In fact, ever since Real World was on the air.
Oh,
early on.
What was your favorite season of Real World?
The very first one, New York. I mean, I could watch that over and over and over again. And now watching it is funny because it's like watching paint dry. You're like, wow, this is really slow and not that interesting. And the music isn't really that good. But at the time, I remember feeling like, oh, this is what I want to see. I want to pull back the curtain on what is really going on and even mundane conversations. So then I got really into reality TV, even though most of my time was filled up with being, a teacher of literature and writing and talking about more highbrow things. So I wrote for Reality Tea, and then the Jenny McCarthy Show on SiriusXM stars. They found me through that site, and and they brought me on the radio, and Jenny and I hit it off, and we've had a great time for the past couple of years talking about. I have a regular segment on there
every Friday. You're like the Housewives correspondent. What's so funny to me?
So random.
What's so funny to me is that because I listen to that segment every week. It's so good, guys. Just SiriusXM stars. Just search for the Jenny McCarthy Show. They're all on demand, so you can. And I'm pretty sure that Sirius is doing like a free trial right now. So
they are.
Definitely listen to the Friday. Just download the Friday episodes that are on demand. And Erin is on there, like literally doing what we do on podcasts, but with Jenny McCarthy on the radio.
I know. And Jenny is so much fun. She's just like us. She watches all these shows. She totally gets into them. And so does Donnie. Donnie's been co-hosting with her in quarantine.
Amazing.
And so I recorded with them actually last night before I talked to you today. And it's on Friday today. And he is so he's into all these shows. He watches 90 Day. He watches The Housewives.
That's so funny.
Hilarious to me. I know, because my 14-year-old self who went to a New Kids on the Block concert and like fangirled over, the boy band of that era.
Yeah.
Now I'm talking to them about Housewives. I'm like, what is life? What is happening? This is so crazy. So then as an outgrowth of that, though, being on the radio and writing, I started a podcast. A lot of people start podcasts out of nowhere, and I sort of did.
So you were doing the Jenny McCarthy gig before your podcast?
Oh, yeah. Well before it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well before it. So they really found me from writing. And then I've always, the jobs I've had have always been speaking in front of people and things. So you never know if a writer is going to be okay to talk to necessarily. And I think I kind of started to enjoy that a little bit more. And I'm like, I could kind of do a mix of this. And so I started a podcast, and it just grew out of there. And then I did a cult podcast also.
Yeah.
Separately.
Because you're super into give a description of that podcast.
So the other podcast I did, it's only one season long, and I've never put out a season 2 because it's just I don't have the bandwidth to do it. It's called Cult Talk with Erin Martin because I was born into a cult in Manhattan, actually in Pennsylvania, and then it moved to Manhattan, and it's still around today. It's called the COBU, the Church of Bible Understanding. It was actually spoofed on Seinfeld as the Christian Brothers carpet cleaning service, or no. What did the Sunshine carpet cleaning service, I think, was the spoof they did.
What was the cult, and what was it like growing up in a cult?
It was a Christian-based cult, but of course, like any cult, you don't call it that when you're in it. You just call it like a group or your church or whatever. But it was run by a man named Stuart Trail, and started in the 70s, as a lot of cults started in the late 60s, early 70s. There was a big boom of cults then for some reason. It started, I think, in earnest, like all groups do, to, kind of have a more utopian world, and they all live together. My parents met there as young, really young people. They got married really young, had me young. They left it when I was 4. They all lived together in the Bowery district in lofts.
Oh my God.
In really not great conditions. And they worked for the church. They have stores all over that area still called Old Good Things, old with an E.
Oh, I see that store all the time.
That's run by the Kobu.
Oh my God. So how did you break out of the cult to live a normal life?
Well, I mean, my parents left it when I was just before I was 4. So my memories are very like just picture memories, just a lot of kids around, the moms all raising the babies, and, the dads went out and worked, and we all lived together. And I remember just not really even understanding I was an only child until we left, which is kind of one of the most bizarre things of all, because we left and I'm like, where is everyone? Like, this is crazy. It's just the 3 of us. It kind of takes a lifetime to get over it. I mean, I think my parents are still processing it. And in fact, in the podcast I did, Cult Talk, I interview my mom for the first 3 or 4 episodes to tell her story. So she was willing to do that. Yeah. And then I interview pretty much just people all through the years who were in Kobu and who left. So I interview cult survivors, and I interview a couple of authors and experts and things like that. Yeah, I'm just really interested to understand how people get into something, how they, when does their aha moment come, and how do they leave? Because leaving something like that is really hard, really difficult.
Oh my God. I mean, we could literally do an hour just on this.
Oh, I know. We got to get back to TV, but of course I could talk about this forever.
So like you, I was totally into the real world. I think that was really everybody's entree to reality television. I often laugh when people are like, oh yeah, the Housewives was the first reality show. I'm like, are you like out of your mind? Like The Simple Life, The Real World, these were all on, Newlyweds with Nick and Jessica, like these were all on, like, and it's very, very successful, The Osbournes. So I often laugh when people credit the Housewives as like breaking the mold. It's like, not really.
Luann, not really.
Yeah. What was your entry point to the Housewives?
I watched OC when it first debuted. I watched it when it was like the gates opening up and that old, Vicky walking around her house in skytops and describing her life, and Lori. And I watched the very first season of that, and I was like, this is fascinating. Because again, I like to peek behind the curtain, and it was a peek behind the curtain of something I knew nothing about. I mean, I was like, who are these women? What are, why should we be interested in them? Yet I am. And then from then on, I watched every single iteration of Housewives after that. I definitely was into Jersey Shore big time.
Yeah.
I watched the little shows that were one-offs, on MTV, E, whatever. The only one I've never truly stuck with is the Kardashians. And I don't know why that is.
Oh, that's so funny.
I watched it on and off, but I never really stuck with it.
You know what's interesting? So I watched the Kardashians. I was never like a huge fan, but like I would definitely dabble in and out. It's almost like a soap opera in the sense that you can miss entire seasons of that show, put it on, and you're immediately caught up. Like you immediately know what's going on, in the way that I remember when I was young, my cousin was really into soap operas, and I was like, I've never watched this before, but within 10 minutes, I knew exactly what was going on.
Totally.
What's so funny is just this season, I haven't watched Kardashians in years, but this season, I guess I put it on one day. I was bored, and this season happens to be really, really great. Like Courtney quits the show.
That's what I've seen all of this, footage that people put on social media and stuff. And I'm like, what is going on? Courtney quit. Everyone's arguing. I'm like, maybe I need to dip back in this for at least one season.
And they are fully breaking the fourth wall. Like they're having
they're
having conversations about, literally a scene will be the 3 girls talking, like having an argument over a trip that they plan. Imagine you're watching like Beverly Hills, and they're talking about the trip to Rome and like the planning of that trip, and saying, oh, I'm going to fly my glam, like private. No, they have to go be commercial. Like it'd be as if you completely pulled back the curtain on all of that. That's what they're talking about.
I love that. Okay, maybe I need to just binge that one day then.
Guys, this season is really like, it's if you're looking for something new, that's really good. Going back to Jenny McCarthy and Donnie. So have you met them in person?
I have. I went down there to meet one of their producers, Michelle Likowski, and David Eitel, the other producer. They ran a marathon in Chicago, and I went down and stayed with Michelle in Chicago for the weekend. And I did the Jenny show for BFF Friday in her home, in her basement
Oh
studio
my
with
God.
with Lisser and Colleen, and then we did a dinner after the marathon a couple days later, and they're just wonderful. They're just wonderful, warm people and super fun, and it was amazing. I know I'm in Madison and she's in Chicago, so we're only a couple hours apart. It's a very easy trip.
Does she still commute between Chicago and New York, or is she fully in Chicago?
She's fully in Chicago, but they do have a home in New Jersey, I think, or an apartment or something like that. I'm not sure. But they have a place there because Donnie films Blue Bloods out there. She
Right.
does her show on Sirius. And I mean, right now everyone's locked down where they are. So they've been doing everything from Chicago. But she normally will go out there and then also out to LA for Masked Singer. Yeah.
And so she interviews. I mean, just Erica Jane was on the Jenny McCarthy show just last week. And
Yeah.
like, do you guys ever like talk offline, like text about? I'm curious, like if Jenny McCarthy is like giving you her impressions of these guests who are either in studio with her or if they're doing it remotely. Like, does she give you any juice or insight?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit here and there. It's funny because what you see is what you get with her. I mean, what she says on the radio is kind of what she'll say offline too, you know? So she's really one of those people to me who, I mean, is just like super raw and real all of the time. And so, but yeah, we'll text, Lisser and Jenny and I will text about like what's going on with Housewives or who's coming in or, interviews. I've, tried to give her some questions before back in the day when she was just starting out Housewives and she was starting to interview them. I'm like, okay, ask them this, ask them that. But
awesome.
I know. She's just really into it and she's really into talking to people on a real level. I think that's why people open up to her so much because she also gives a lot of herself in interviews. She'll talk a lot about her own experiences and even embarrassing or whatever. And so, yeah, we talk all. I mean, we talk about whatever. 90 Day, she's very into. I know that's not your thing, but 90 Day Fiancé is like
At the end of this, I do have a question for you regarding 90 Day
we're
Fiancé.
so into that. I mean,
I know you
I
are.
could so in deep with it. It's so disturbing to me sometimes. I'm like, what happened to me? I'm so in deep with this shit show.
You're
But
like, I started off highbrow season 1 of The Real World. How did I fall this far to 90
how did I end up here? Yeah, and Love After Lockup, even worse, which I'm very
Erin,
into.
I cannot.
Oh, God, I can. I will. Love After Lockup on WeTV is a gift from the gods, from the reality TV gods. And I'm just like, I wonder, my biggest fear during this whole pandemic is like, what's going to happen in the prisons? Are they going to be able to film Love After Lockup?
That is really sick.
That's sad.
That is some
So
sick
sad.
shit. When you were writing for Reality Tea, did you ever have a Bravo celebrity react to anything, like either send you a message or confront you in some way, like if you were talking shit or or even on the radio? Like, have you ever had like a negative reaction or positive?
Yeah.
Actually?
Yeah, I mean, I've had both and not necessarily directly. Sometimes it's through publicists or someone on their behalf reaching out, or sometimes the person goes crazy on Twitter and, freaks out, whatever it might be.
We just finished last night's episode of New York with Dorinda. Like, we have to go so deep on Dorinda, but how are you liking this current season of New York?
I really like it. I always loved New York, and I was hesitant to, be super excited about this season until it started. And then Leah came on, and I'm like, I'm digging Leah. She seems like she's always been here.
She saved all of our lives.
Seriously, I'm like, I can't believe she's new. She doesn't feel new to me. She feels like she's always been with this team. I don't know. I could go on and on about why I love each one of them, but together, they're highly watchable to me. And New York is like the sitcom of all the Housewives franchises because it's so funny and it moves so quickly.
The issue that I'm having is that there's not much plot that's happening on New York. And Bethany was the one that always drove plot. I would say Bethany and Luann always drove plot. And the fact that they are dwelling on the Dorinda Tinsley situation, which I almost say that in quotes because to me it just feels, I can't tell how much of it is authentic and how much of it is Dorinda just desperate to make a show. I really can't tell. Although last night, it really seems like she went off the deep end to the point where I feel the only way that she will save her life is to get off television and just resume a normal life.
Dorinda finds a target and takes it out on that person when she's triggered. And Tinsley just seems like a random target for her. I don't know why it is that she is going so hard for Tinsley. And nobody else seems to be able to figure it out either. I mean, even Ramona, who's so tone deaf, she's like, what the hell?
Forget who actually pointed it out, but they were like, basically, she's jealous that Tinsley has somebody who's taking care of her, which is what Richard always did for her.
But you know what? It's like, is that really it? I can't figure it out, Jess. There's something deeper. There's something way deeper. I don't know what it is, but Tinsley just sets her off, or Tinsley's just the weakest link.
I think Dorinda has not been likable since... I thought she was very likable her first 2 seasons on the show, and then it's been a rapid decline. I mean,
really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, tell me why. Tell me. I want to hear this.
She just so aggressive and negative and just not like the light and the life of the party the way we got to know her during the first 2 seasons. Like, I think that people are holding on to the Dorinda that we knew in the beginning, but honestly, she hasn't been that person in years.
You know what? That's probably true.
It's the direct result of being on television, being addicted to the attention, and probably an addiction to continually having to like make money. So she's constantly doing appearances. And I think she's so taken with this Bravo lifestyle, like what it means to be a quote unquote housewife and what it means to be a reality star. It's like you see glimmers of her being grounded, but then you also see glimmers of her being a total delusional monster. By the way, you know how they showed the Page Six article? You know, that basically it was first announced in Page Six that she and John had broken up, which obviously she's the one who put it in there. She's like, gee, I
know,
wonder
right? I know, so, like, what? Come on now.
So I'm friendly with the person who was her assistant during this entire time of filming.
Okay.
And this person told me, like, personally, that she was fined a few $1,000s from Bravo because it wasn't on camera. Because I guess the break, it had to be, if it is within your control, you have to do it on camera. Not like a Luann thing where you're in Palm Beach and it's like a total freak accident that happens. But like something that like Dorinda knew she was breaking up with this guy, and the fact that she just did it and then leaked it to the press of all, you know, didn't even just save it for the cameras. She was fined a few grand for that.
Really? Mm-hmm. They can fine you for that? That's a thing?
Erin, they can fine you if the housewives get fined if they go on a podcast that hasn't been approved. And we're gonna go deep on that because I really want to get your take on this Vanderpump Rules editor, but they get fined for that.
Girl, I know. I've heard so many podcasters talk about the hoops you have to jump through, and there are certain podcasts out there that are very Bravo approved, and some that aren't, and some of us just never have a chance of getting anyone on because they're like, no, we don't know you enough. But I wonder about that because then even podcast interviews, things like that, have come into play in the actual season. We've seen that happening where it's like, I heard you went on this show and da-da-da. I'm like, oh my God, this gets so messy. And lawsuits and everything else. It's a wild world out there, this Bravo world. And I guess there are some Bravo police out there doing things because we hear about that on Jeff Lewis and Angie talks about that. Mm-hmm.
Before we leave New York, the last thing I want to ask you, like you were talking about, you know, the alcoholism that's drives the show. Do you think Leah sold her soul to the devil by giving up her sobriety? Or do you think that she had the belief all along that she was never going to give up alcohol for the rest of her life?
You know, it's hard to know what a person is thinking. I mean, I just know from, my personal standpoint and people I know in recovery and things, everybody has kind of a different take on it. Some people are like, it's just for today and I'm just going to get through, one day at a time. And they really take that to heart. Some people are just, never again, never going to pick it up again. This is a new me, new era. Other people see it as a stage in your life, like you were using it as medicine or medicinally. And, now you're in a better state. And so you think you can use or maybe not abuse it in the way you did before. It's just very difficult to look from the outside into someone's life and how they use a substance and know where they're at with it. It's such a personal thing. I think.
Do you get the impression? We'll never know the truth.
We'll never know.
Because she says that she started drinking like 6 months prior, but is that when she found out that she was going to be on Housewives? It's like, when did we're never going to know the truth.
That's true. I know. I can't imagine being on Housewives and, going into it sober and then starting drinking right when you're filming. And
well, no. She says that she did start
6
drinking
months before.
Yes.
Right.
But was that like homework?
I don't know. Seriously, you could probably write like a whole dissertation on what led up to her decision to do that. And it's interesting that she addresses how her mom is upset with her. She meets with her ex-husband and he brings it up like, this is not necessarily a good choice for you. And I like that she addresses it on camera. I'd like to hear her talk more honestly about it all. She seems like a pretty forthright person. So maybe we'll hear more about that. I feel like, It does coincide. It does coincide with her joining Housewives, which is sad.
Even if it's not directly related to the Housewives, there is the possibility that she always had this feeling of, oh, I was never going to give you up. Meaning drinking. Like, I'll give you up temporarily for like 9 years, but I was never going to let you go forever. But that's like too deep. That's for her and her therapist.
Exactly.
So yeah, let's dive into this. I dedicated a whole episode to the Vanderpump Rules editor controversy scandal that's going on, but I want to talk about it with you. Well, first of all, I want to get just what's your take on that whole situation, and then going back to what we just mentioned, the further implications for podcasters.
Okay, so I feel like podcasting has been the Wild West for a long time, and it still is. And we just don't, we go over the line, we step back from the line. You have people on, you want to talk honestly, you feel like you're just having a conversation, then you're like, oh, it's public, and now everyone's going to come at me for whatever. When it comes to this thing with Sheena, we're talking about the editor from Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah, the editor, her name is Brie Dellinger, and you guys all know. If you didn't listen to the episode that I did where I really broke it down with Emerson Collins, just go listen to that. By this point, I think everybody knows, but yeah, basically she went on this. She did a couple episodes of a podcast and flat out said that she deliberately tries to embarrass her, and she talked so much shit about. A lot of the cast members said that Bravo insists that that every episode must contain scenes with Stassi and Beau because they're deemed the special heroes of the show.
And it sounds like she was sort of laughing it off, like, well,
yes.
Sheena should have been better friends with me because my favorite thing to do is find all the embarrassing clips of her, which, let's be real, is not probably tough to do because Sheena embarrasses herself on the regular. That reality TV is edited. That the story happens in the editing room. That's where they put it together. Those are kind of the writers of the show, the editors. So I feel like, I don't know. I don't see this editor as being like a supervillain or anything. I feel like that's what they're all doing.
No, she was doing her job. It's the fact,
right?
But it is wild that she said this all publicly.
Yes. Yeah,
that
totally.
is what's wild. Yeah. And I cannot even articulate how much I love this story. The fact that this is happening. It's awful. I feel terrible for Sheena, and I feel, well, not so terrible. She's making hundreds of thousands of dollars for doing nothing. But it is just, I cannot remember another story like this that has been this juicy. I don't know if there has been another one like this.
Since Luann's arrest, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. It's kind of like inside baseball. You're seeing inside we're seeing how the sausage is made. It's like, oh, this is why they have montages of Sheena ogling a 12-year-old over and over again. Or, her being like, Brad can hang a TV in 10 seconds or whatever she does. She definitely gets trolled by the producers big time. But I feel like it just wasn't that shocking to me that was the case, because when you're watching Vanderpump Rules, you're a longtime watcher. I'm a longtime watcher. That Sheena is made to be the butt of a lot of the jokes, and she does bring it on herself quite a bit. And you can just tell who they're setting up to be a villain or victim or hero or this or that. Now, hearing it from a producer, though, like you said, it is kind of shocking because you're like, I know this is going on in my head, but then hearing someone actually tell you, yes, we are doing this, we are manipulating you to see this, it is like, oh, wait, I'm not, the call is coming from inside the house. Like,
what do you think the further implications will be for podcasters? I think the jig may
you think
be
it's going
up.
to be a lockdown?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Like no one will be allowed to give interviews or do interviews with podcasters again.
No. I mean, I think certainly the cast will, is free to, to go on approved podcasts. But basically what happens is like you contact, whoever it is going to be, and then they have to get permission. And there's some Bravo celebrities who don't give a shit. They're like, fuck that. I'm just doing, because oftentimes they're friendly with the host. They're like, whatever, I'll do it and then beg for forgiveness, act and then just beg for forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And, I think there are some that figure, oh, like no one's ever going to hear it. I'm just doing my friend a favor who's, either a producer of a podcast or the host of the podcast. And then there are the ones who are like sticklers for it. Like they're truly by the book. Like, for example, interviewed Carl Radke and Kyle Cook from Summer House, and they're like good boys, like meaning they're like, okay, let me just go. They're like, I'd love to do it. Let me just go get permission. We got permission. It was a green light. That's often the case with the actual Bravo celebrity. Now, don't think that I have not spent weeks and months of my life trying to get producers of Real Housewives of New York and Beverly Hills on this podcast. Like, I've spent a year trying to do that. And they really have a lot at stake, more so than the Bravo celebrity, which can maybe feel a little bit more like a free agent. Like it's how are they going to control everything this one person does?
Right.
Whereas somebody that is bound by a contract with a what do they call that?
An NDA?
Yeah, bound by a contract with an NDA.
A non-disclosure agreement? Is that what you're thinking of? Yeah.
So those people that I've tried to interview, and trust me, I find those people way more interesting than, a reality star. Like, 'cause, you stumble onto like a Brie Dellinger that's going to just fucking spill it all. Like, this is just proof that it's the producers and the editors that are actually way more interesting. The people who I've spoken to, they're like, I would love to do it. I have to get permission from Bravo. Mm-hmm. It's always a no.
It's always a no. I wonder about Bravo in the long run, or any of these shows. I mean, even like Sharp Production that does 90 Day and, TLC and things like that, who, the shows are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, millions and millions and millions of people. And yeah, I wonder if podcasting, there is going to be kind of a wall between the people who want to interview and the people who we want to interview at some point, even more of a wall than there is now, because they just really need to keep it all under wraps how they're creating a show,
mm-hmm. Have you ever done interviews? Like either with who have you interviewed?
I've interviewed Tom Sandoval. I've interviewed some people from the 90 Day franchise. I think past housewives can be really fun to interview because they just don't give a shit anymore. Like
they have nothing,
Leah Black.
They have nothing to lose. I totally agree. In all the interviews that I've done, it's the former housewives that are always giving,
right.
They have nothing to lose. They're just,
Exactly. One of my favorite people to talk to was Stephanie Holman of Dallas.
Oh, wow.
I talked to her first season that she was on, and we really connected because we had a lot in common with how we were raised in like a Pentecostal church. And, she just talked a lot about her family, and she was really open and sweet. And I still think she is that way on Housewives today. She just always seems like a pretty authentic person, that she shared about her depression. And yeah, I've not too many, just here and there over the years, like a smattering of people, but I haven't really sought it out. I haven't really sought out to talk to, I mostly do like recaps and talk about the shows. I'm really into the stories and talking and breaking down the stories and the characters. I know they're not characters, they're real people, but you know what I mean? Breaking down what you're watching, even though it's not all real. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's something, I love talking about that more than even talking to them because they can, like you said, they can only say so much.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I can't believe the Vanderpump Rules, the finale is this week, and then the reunion is going to be the following week. We're going to be hitting some lean times, and I just don't know if I have it in me to see if like a camp getaway is any good. It's bad. Did you take one for the team?
I did not take one for the team yet. It's on my DVR. I haven't brought myself to watch it because I have so much other, so much other things on my DVR to watch. So many other things rather. But I'm seeing people post about it and they're not thrilled. Yeah, I'm just always Netflix documentaries, true crime. I always mix it up with a little bit of that too, just to keep it, I can't do all reality TV, even though documentaries and things are still kind of reality TV.
100%.
Basically, it's like a truth is stranger than fiction world. That's like the world I like.
Did you watch the Bikram yoga documentary? That was the most...
Oh, wait. No, I have not watched that one yet.
Okay, everybody listening, stop this podcast right now. And you need to watch the Bikram documentary. It's on Netflix. It is one of the best docs I've seen in a really long time.
Okay, I will watch it.
I mean, you know the whole story, right?
I do. I know the story. I've heard people review it. I listened to some podcasts that recapped it, but I haven't actually watched it.
Oh my God.
I need to do that.
It is some sick shit. And he is so Trumpian. It is wild.
Oh, wow.
Wild. There's so many parallels. Like literally, I texted my friend, and my friend who told me to watch it. This was months ago. And I texted her in the middle. I'm like, does he remind you, like, am I crazy, or does he remind you exactly of Trump? And she's like, yes, 100%. Yes.
Okay, I need to watch it.
Yeah.
Is it one special or is it a series?
No, it's just one documentary.
It's one
movie.
special.
It's like an hour and a half. Yeah.
Okay. Have you watched Holy Hell?
No, what is that?
Okay, Holy Hell is a documentary on Netflix, and it is my number one cult documentary to watch.
Holy Hell.
Holy Hell. Mm-hmm. It's not really prominently reviewed or watched out there, but the people who have seen it are like, what am I watching? It is about a cult leader who most people have never even heard of. I won't even get into details. Just look it up on Netflix. Holy Hell. It is way worth watching.
Amazing.
It's super juicy. I mean, it involves a cult leader who gets so much plastic surgery, you can't even recognize him by the end.
Oh my God.
He forces the cult members to do like full ballet performances. It's so crazy. And it's very dark and there's a lot of disturbing stuff in there, but it's actually narrated and produced by one of the ex-cult members who has so much video footage because he was the videographer for this group.
Oh my God.
And so, which is amazing when you can get a lot of video footage inside of a cult. And that's what this one has. Holy Hell.
Yeah. So guys, you got your homework, the Bikram doc and Holy Hell. And comment on the Instagram, Hot Takes Deep Dives, and like let us know your thoughts on these two docs. Okay, Beverly Hills. Now, I really want to talk about Beverly Hills because I have to be truthful. Like listen, the heart wants what it wants. And while New York will always be, listen, I will rewatch all of the seasons of New York probably 100 times in my life. But every Wednesday you got New Beverly Hills. Every Thursday you got New York. I'm more excited to watch the Beverly Hills episodes. Like those I'm actually watching live as they air. While as
really?
I gotta be honest. And I can't believe it.
Why do you think that is? Is it because
it's better?
Just the...
It's better.
I don't know. Is it? Okay, why? Why is it better for you?
The story is more interesting. This season, I just think that the stories are more interesting than what's going on in New York. There is no story to me. I mean, just every episode is just hijinks.
Ah, yeah. They're just kind of being messy drunks. Yeah.
Like I was saying to you, and I've said on here, like Denise, I just find endlessly fascinating. And she goes, I am Denise fucking Richards. I have been on every magazine cover. I mean, come on. But okay,
I love it. I love the addition of Sutton too. I do. She brings a weird, messed up energy to that group, and I am living for it.
So mentally ill.
Yeah, but it's great.
I just saw on her Instagram this morning, she posted a picture of her filming a confessional from home. And she's like DIY hair and makeup. Like you see her with like an iPhone.
Really?
And yeah.
Huh. I wonder if that's going to be how they end the season.
With all like home footage, you mean for confessionals? Well, yeah, because Kyle posted a photo too, doing a confessional from home.
Oh my God, I haven't followed any of this.
Yes.
I've just been like in the dark. Okay, so everyone's going to have to end the season on Zoom. Our whole life is on Zoom now. Life has moved to Zoom.
I mean,
Zoom owns us.
It looks highly stylized, but yeah, I mean, I don't know that we're really necessarily going to be able to tell the difference because in Beverly Hills, they actually do shoot the confessionals in their homes. Like, I don't think it's a green screen the way it is in New York and so many other shows. But there is no way in hell that Erika Jayne is doing her own hair and makeup and costuming for the. I mean, Mikey is in the next room, like putting all the look together and also probably like whispering shit in her ear, like.
He is quarantined with her in the same room. Yes, sure. Absolutely. He's in lockdown there for sure.
Okay, this is amazing. Teddy's retreat from the other week.
God. Oh my God. Speaking of cults, that MLM, that's a multi-level marketing scheme right there.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know how much that cost?
I was just going to ask you that question. Do you know how much it cost?
It's like $6,000, $5,000, $4,000. It's a lot.
It's $38.99.
Okay, thank you. So it's $4,000 ish, right?
Mm-hmm.
For what? A couple of days of eating boiled fish, doing yoga with your name on your mat.
I found the description of, when you go to like purchase it, it said it includes your lodging, brunch and dinner, a workshop with some author. It says, quote, some workouts and a gift bag.
Oh my God. So,
I mean, but they said it was 4 days, which sounds like a lot. I guess it's like a Thursday to Sunday. That sounds like a really long time for something like this.
Yeah, that's 3 days too many for me. I mean, I don't even know if I could do one, like what the Housewives did. They showed up for like an hour or two and just bugged out. I can't believe she is charging that, number one. But number two, I can't believe people are paying that. I can't believe they're paying that.
Well, there is this company. Is it Retreats Unlimited? It may be called Retreats Unlimited. If you go, well, I'm sure everything is pulled off now because God knows you can't do a retreat in the middle of a pandemic. But for the last year or two, there's this company where they pair with housewives and other reality stars. It's the reason why Sonia Morgan was not at BravoCon. She had a previous contract to do this retreat where basically they throw this reality star, like in this case it was Sonia, and they jack up the price, and it's basically like a weekend with Sonia. And now Dorinda has been attached to many of these. They all get canceled.
Why?
Because nobody buys. Because it's an outrageous price for like 3 days in Tampa.
But then Teddy is like making money hand over fist, and she's got all these women who are coming to her thing. How is that happening?
Here's why. It's because she already has these women in her tent. Meaning like these are already her all-in clients. They have thousands and thousands of members. Those people are that is the base for the people who are going to her retreats. It's already a built-in audience for it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I just, I can't imagine. Putting that price out there and people being like, yeah, sure.
You know who else was supposed to do a retreat and got canceled? Heather Thompson from New York.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Hers got canceled. They all get canceled. Who else? Brandy and Stephanie from Dallas canceled. It's very interesting to see.
Oh, wow. I mean, This isn't a long-lasting career, so I feel like, hey, make money while you can. These housewives, you know what? It's a flash in the pan. I guess make your thousands of dollars on your retreats while you can, because you're not going to be able to do this forever. But it's just fascinating to me that they can bust out with these brands and be like, come to a retreat, and we're going to charge you this much, and people are just all in. Mm-hmm. All in with Teddy. Mm-hmm. They're all in, and they can even finance it. She has financing options on the website. I'm like, really? You're going to finance a weekend with Teddy? That's a real rock bottom moment.
Whoa. Interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Erin, here's your moment. I want you to sell me on 90 Day Fiancé.
Oh my God.
Because this is a show I would not normally watch. Tell me why I would like it. Now you have information. I love the real world. I love like quality reality shit. Why is this good?
Okay, 90 Day Fiancé is a show that gets about 3 million viewers every Sunday night. And that's men and women. You can watch it and feel better about all of your life choices. There's usually, not every season, but usually at least one couple to root for, which is essential in viewing something. When you talk about how some reality shows, as we're discussing Housewives, don't have a story arc, there's always a story. And usually there's 6 or 7 stories. And so you can follow, each of these couples. The idea is that there's something called a K-1 visa, and you have to apply for a K-1 visa if you want to marry someone who is outside of the U.S. here in this country. And so when they come here on a K-1 visa from whatever country in the world, you have 90 days from the moment they land to actually legally marry them, or they get deported. And so that's what this journey is. But it's also blown up into a full franchise where it's like before the 90 days, after the 90 days, happily ever after. What now? 90 days in quarantine is happening now. I mean, there's just it's crazy. There's just a million different stories. And they kind of, it's been more and more produced as the years have gone on and the seasons have gone on, just like Bravo shows. It gets more and more produced. When you look back at an early OC show, it's not what it has become now.
It's like a camera strung up to a tin can. Right.
And they definitely cast it with, a lot of stereotypical oddballs. And so to me, the most fun thing about watching 90 Day is the viewership. Everyone who kind of watches it together and gets in on it. There's nothing funnier than people who watch 90 Day on Twitter or on Facebook groups or just whatever. There's like a culture around it where we all just like are obsessed with laughing about it. And then also, again, rooting for some of these people, even against our own wills. Sometimes you're like, this doesn't make any sense, but I'm weirdly invested in their story. I want them to be okay. And the other thing I would say about it, and I know I'm acting like this is a serious show and it's not, but you actually do get to see all different places in the world. There's production teams all around the world.
That's interesting. And what percentage of the couples stay married?
Quite a bit, quite a large percentage. It's interesting. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not true of people on the seasons like before the 90 days, because they might not even get engaged or, other ones. But on traditional 90-day Fiancé, where the goal is for them to get married within these 90 days, the major percentage of them do stay married.
Interesting.
They do. Mm-hmm. It's almost like, by the time they get to that point, they've already met, they've already been in a relationship, and they've already applied for this visa, which could take sometimes years. And so they're pretty invested. Now, sometimes it's a total disaster or it's a complete scam. A lot of them, they really do stay married. And you're like, this makes no sense. And I'm into it. I don't know why. I just am.
They're all kind of like, who is that? It was like Trista and Ryan from the first season of The Bachelor.
Yes.
Yeah, they're all kind of like, wow. So like, it's a lot more of those where like, I cannot believe that this, like you met on this ridiculous show and like, you're actually in love all these years later.
I know. And they follow up with them, on different after shows and things. And I don't know, girl, I'm in so deep. I don't even know. I can't, I could definitely talk about this forever and ever, but that's the gist of it. It's like something about it sucks me in. There's a big story to be told on each season.
If you could only watch The Housewives or 90 Day Fiancé for the rest of your life, like you're being shipped off to a desert island and you can only download one batch, like you can download I'm talking about you can have every single franchise of The Housewives and you can have all these different franchises of 90 Day downloaded to your iPad for this desert island. Which one do you choose?
Real Housewives of New York, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, New York all day, every day, forever and ever. That would give me great peace and comfort. That would entertain me. It wouldn't depress me. And I wouldn't really have to talk to anyone about it to enjoy it.
Right.
To go back and enjoy Kelly Ben Simone losing her mind or, just all those iconic moments or see Ramona. I mean, that would give me joy for the rest of my life. 90 Day, I need other people to complain to.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I need to be able to be in a community while I watch it. New York, I could do an isolation. That would be my pandemic viewing for sure.
I love it. Erin, this was so much fun. Pink Shade with Erin Martin is everywhere. Tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Erin Leah Martin. And Pink Shade with Erin Martin is up on all platforms. And I'm on the Jenny McCarthy Show. Right now, during this quarantine, I'm doing every other Friday on the Jenny McCarthy Show, SiriusXM Stars Channel 109. And you can find basically everything related to what I do on tasteofreality.com. That's
Awesome.
what hosts all of my stuff.
Great. This is so much fun.
I know.
You guys can follow me, Jess XNYC. Subscribe to the show account, Hot Takes Deep Dives, where I promote all the episodes. Leave a great review. Would love that. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.